Hello. You may remember me from yesterday when I vlogged. Hooray! Yesterday I studied for calculus because I have a calculus exam coming up. I also have every other exam ever coming up. There's only 3 more weeks left of classes. And while that doesn't actually represent real weeks of school left, there's actually, I think, 5. At least something like that. There's exam week, which doesn't count. There's next week, which is Thanksgiving week. I'm not sure if that counts towards the 3-week total, but in any case, people are just piling on the assignments, even though there are exams. It's ridiculous. And what is more ridiculous than this was that I was looking online to try to find answers for a homework problem that I was stumped on, and I stumbled upon a page that was dated in 1999 that had the exact same wording as the question on the homework that I was looking at. And it also had identical problems, except that the numbers had changed. And so, I mean, the homework turned out to be pretty easy, actually, because it was a sheet that showed all the answers to those questions. So I suddenly wasn't so confused anymore. So the morality of that is a little bit dubious on both sides. I think the answer is that we were both wrong. I wasn't right because she was wrong, and whatever. But it's, I already wasn't too fond of that class, but now in the past I would have gotten really mad about that and done something about it because it was unfair. But right now I hope that someday someone points it out, maybe next semester. Maybe I'll do it next semester, maybe. But not during a period of time in which that will directly affect me. Because all I want to do is pass all my classes. More than that would be great, but for me that's just the minimum. I just want to survive. I've got hard classes and I just want to get through them and go on to what I really want to do, which is be good at what I'm doing. Because these classes, I'm really not that great at a lot of them. And I find a lot of them repetitive and just boring and dull, and they're not core to my major, so that's fine. But getting through them is hard, and I'm trying to do that. And sometimes you just have to ignore things like the fact that this homework was copied off of the internet and that you copied the answers off the internet and you're in some sort of garbage in, garbage out loop where what you're doing really doesn't matter a whole ton, and it's pretty easy. And honestly, at this point, I know where my skills lie and what my strong suits are, and I know what I probably am going to be doing vaguely in terms of a professional career, not any of this other video stuff on the side, which, by the way, I have plans and I'm learning about that too, but in a much more productive and slower way, which is interesting that those two are both true. It's productive because I'm not copying crap off so that I can answer a thing that's copied off like that. In that way it's more productive, but it's also slower because I'm not getting really graded. If I don't succeed, it's simply a lack of interest, so no one is actually hating on my videos. No one's saying, these are bad because of these reasons. For all I know, my videos could be great, but nobody cares. I mean, they're good, not great. But every time I have a success, I learn something, and I recently had a success, and I learned a lot because I was trying a new technique on that video. What I do is I play a bunch of games, and whatever game I'm doing, I play a bunch of matches and things, and I have an index card next to me, and I'm recording the whole time. And what I do is I write down every time something cool or funny happens. And what I used to do before was one of two things. Either I would play and then sync up the audio later because the audio and the video were separate, and cut it up and put it on YouTube, just straight up, which is the laziest way of doing it and is bad unless you are hilarious or the game is incredibly interesting. So I try not to do that anymore unless In the future, maybe I get really good at monologuing and it becomes hilarious and worth it. But the other thing I would normally do if I was trying hard with this stuff, is that I would record it, play it and record it, which would take a certain amount of time, and then I would watch it all again and cut it, and it would take like, if it was 10 minutes of video, which it never is, if it was an hour, it would take 3 hours to edit maybe, or an hour and a half. And the whole thing would take 2.5 hours, and then uploading it would take a certain amount of time, and scheduling it and all these things. And so it would end up being an hour of video, well, less than that even. It would be a half hour, maybe 2 videos out of an hour, maybe. Usually 1 10-minute video. And all the boring stuff would be cut out. But this is so much better because 2 things are true this way. 1, there's no pressure because I can just go, and if I'm not exciting, it's because what's going on isn't exciting. I can just record and play and have fun. If something awesome happens, I'll react the way you would react, or anyone would react when something awesome happens. And I'll write down the timestamp, Game 5, 11 minutes in, or whatever. And I will look back later while I'm editing it and saying, okay, Game 5, let me scrub this. Okay, that's 14, 13, 12, 11 minutes. Oh, yeah, that was great. Or, no, that was, why did I write this down? That's dumb. But it's so much faster. Instead of taking 3 hours for 10 minutes, it takes, whatever time it took to record it, plus 5, 10 minutes, 15, 20 even for each clip, but each clip is gold. And I did that, and I submitted it to Reddit, and it didn't go crazy, but the views coming in and the likes are, just for a one-off minute 40 video, pretty rare. Like, find $20 in the ground rare. It's not unheard of. Or no, $10. Find $10 in your pocket, and you're just like, whoa. I mean, that's not, Stop the Press is good, but that's like, wow. And if I can replicate that, oh boy. So we're learning, and that part of my life is really exciting, and it could be depressing sometimes, because sometimes it just feels like you're talking to no one. You're just in a void. But I mean, these little things can happen, and you're like, all right, I do have control. And I think that matters a lot, where I'm trying to do well on my homework assignments, but it's not really working out. And I want to do well, and I study, and I'll get a bad grade. And if I don't study, I'll get a good grade. And it feels like it's just a coin flip, which is sometimes how it feels on YouTube. But it's not really a coin flip, because the only thing that really is a coin flip is a coin. I mean, everything else is a little bit more complicated, if it's just a little bit. It's not 50-50, usually. You can usually tip it, that's what I mean. Unless it's something like horse racing. Unless you're in the race. Because then you can, maybe you're not doing anything wrong. But maybe you can figure out what you're not doing right. And it's just, whatever works. I'm just, like I said, trying to get through this semester alive. And the YouTube thing is going to keep evolving on its own. But, I mean, whatever you have to say to yourself, and start a vlog, or, just take every day as it comes, whatever, because the goal is what matters, even if all the homework was copied. If I reach my goal on YouTube and I had 1 million failures, but all of a sudden I start putting out successes, does it really matter?